BLEACH Rebirth of Souls is the all-new console game releasing in spring of 2025. This game rightly has a lot of us very excited with the engaging, unique gameplay and the incredible weekly character trailers that we have been receiving. Rebirth of Souls is the first major BLEACH console game in over 13 years, since the release of BLEACH Soul Resurrection on the PS3. In this video, I want to do a complete day one roster prediction for this game, including all of the 17 characters that have been revealed as of making this video. So I'll be having a look at all of the unconfirmed characters and predicting who will also be announced in the upcoming weeks leading up to the release of the game. With BLEACH having so many different character groups, I'll be compiling my perfect roster from the unrevealed GOTY 13 members, the Uraharas, as well as the Vizards and more. So be sure to stick around until the very end of this video to see if your favorite BLEACH character has made it onto my roster prediction. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have an idea of the total number of characters that will be released with BLEACH Rebirth of Souls and who exactly from each BLEACH faction will be included in the game. So without further delay, let's dive into my complete roster prediction for BLEACH Rebirth of Souls. We got really tired of the same old boring anime shirts, so we decided to launch Getsuga.com with the aim of creating designs inspired by our favorite anime and manga. We came up with designs that look cool and represent all of our favorite stories. Check out the latest Instinct collection, which features some amazing designs like this Frosted Heavens design inspired by Toshiro Hitsugaya, or this Instinct design inspired by Hollow Ichigo, and my personal favorite, which is the Heart design, which was inspired by Urahara Shifa. Do not miss out, go to Getsuga.com and wear your favorite stories. Rebirth of Souls is bringing fans a all-new console experience after 13 years with this arena fighter which is staying very faithful to Kubo's original manga. Let's first go over the details which are confirmed about this game. We know in terms of story content it's going to be covering all the way up until the end of the Urahara arc, so the roster is going to be combining a mixture of characters from Karakura Town, the Soul Society, as well as Hueco Mundo. Out of the 17 confirmed characters in the game, we have a mixture of different battling styles, with Ichigo being one of the easiest characters to use with his balanced stats. Then you have characters like Uryu and Renji who offer a ranged playstyle, and then not to forget characters like Kenpachi Zaraki who are incredibly aggressive and will keep their opponents on the defensive. There are other characters in the game who also have a high focus on special ability skills like Tozen, and in addition to all of this, Rebirth of Souls has a transformation mechanic called Awakening, and this activates when a opponent's health diminishes to a certain level. Some characters like Urahara and Ichigo in his Bankai form also have reawakenings, where Urahara activates his Segunda Etapa and Ichigo activates his Vastolore form. So characters are extremely accurate to the timeline that they are representing, with Urahara's awakening being his Shikai. Then you have characters like Byakuya whose awakening is their Bankai. The transformation mechanic reduces the need for characters to have multiple playable forms. Aside from characters who have multiple transformations like Ichigo, everybody else in the roster is pretty much going to be represented by one playable character. As of making this video, there have been 17 playable confirmed characters, including Ichigo in his base Shikai form, Ichigo with his Bankai form, then we have Rukia, Uryu, Byakuya, Yoruichi, Chad, Urahara, Gin, Rangiku, Hitsugaya, Kenpachi, Urahara, Tozen, Soifon, Renji, and the most recent character who's just been revealed is Kira. I think that the game is going to come with a sizable amount of playable characters, and then additional characters will also be available as DLC, but in order to determine how many total characters there will be in Rebirth of Souls, we need to take a look back at previous BLEACH games and determine how many characters each of the games had in their roster, so that we can decide how many total characters will be playable on Rebirth of Souls on the day that it launches. Once we have a total roster size, we'll then have a look at individual characters to determine who is going to be included and who isn't. There have been a ton of BLEACH games that have released in the past with multiple series, like Blade Battlers on the PlayStation, and then the fighting games on the Nintendo DS and the Heat the Soul series on the PSP. There have been a wide variety of character rosters, So I'll have a look at some example rosters here for you. Soul Resurrection on the PS3 featured around 19 playable characters, with a storyline for the game similar to Rebirth of Souls, only adapting all the way up until the Urahara arc. Then we have Bleach Dark Souls, the sequel to Blade of Fate. This game expanded the character roster to 44 playable characters, with a variety of different characters that we've never seen before who were playable, including Grand Fisher, Tatsuki, and even Kon. There was a range of different fighting techniques and styles utilized, so that each character brought something unique and different to the table. And then you have the Heat the Soul series, which had grown its roster from only 6 characters to a massive 84 characters by the time that Heat the Soul 7 had released. Now, some of these characters were duplicated due to different transformations, but in terms of unique playable characters, Heat the Soul 7 featured 61 characters, which is the highest number out of any Bleach game roster. Similar to Soul Resurrection, Heat the Soul 7 had only covered all the way up until the end of the Urahara arc. This game featured characters from the Gotei 13, the Espada, the Vizards, as well as filler movie characters like Senna and even Shuren from Hellverse. All of these games give us a bit of an idea as to what roster we can expect from Rebirth of Souls. We know that the developers for the game did look back on the history of Bleach games that have been released, so I'm fairly confident that they looked at these rosters and carefully picked out which characters will be included in this console game. So there's a few things that we need to take into consideration. So the characters that I'll be selecting will only go up until the end of the Urahara arc. There won't be duplicate characters like in Heat the Soul 7, where both Ulquiorra and Grimmjow had 2 different characters to select from for their Resurrection and base forms. Aside from Ichigo and 2 or 3 other characters, I don't think there will be anyone else who will have more than 1 playable form in this game. Rebirth of Souls has been scheduled to release in spring of 2025. The date range for this is 20th of March to the 21st of June 2025. If the game releases on the week of the 20th of March, then that's 13 weeks away. If it releases on the 21st of June, that's 33 weeks away. I'm going to go for the larger number, so 33 plus the 17 confirmed characters, that gives us a total of 15 playable characters. But if we have another situation where 2 characters are revealed at the same time, like when Ichigo's Bankai form and Ulquiorra were revealed together, then this will align with my prediction for there being 52 playable characters in Rebirth of Souls. This is quite a sizable roster, but I think it is realistic when we start to break down which characters from which group or faction will be added to the game. So let's have a look at first characters from Karakura Town. So we have Ichigo's base form confirmed, Ichigo in his Bankai form confirmed, then Chad, Uryu, Urahara, and Yoruichi as confirmed characters. Now from Karakura Town, I think we're only going to be having 2 more additional characters added to the roster. The first pick is Isshin Kurosaki, who plays a major role during the Urahara arc. At the start, when he is initially introduced as a Shinigami and he battles the Grand Fisher in his Urahara form, and then later in the story arc when he battles against Aizen, teaming up with Urahara and Yoruichi. My second prediction from Karakura Town is Ryuken Ishida, who I think should be added to this game. While you might think that Ryuken is very unlikely, he was actually playable in Heat the Soul 6 and Heat the Soul 7. Now let's turn our attention towards the Shinigami from the Soul Society. Right now, Byakuya, Gin, Rangiku, Hitsugaya, Kenpachi, Tozen, Soifon, Renji, and Kira have all been confirmed, so that's a total of 6 captains and 3 lieutenants. Now I do think that we're going to be getting quite a few more characters from the Soul Society. Let's go over the obvious picks, which of course are the captains who have yet to be included. Easily, I think Head Captain Yamamoto is going to be included in the roster. Shunsui is another obvious pick who will be included in the game, and alongside him, Ukitake Yushiro will also be playable, I think. Another character who I definitely want to be playable is Komamura. Because of his unique abilities, it would be really cool to play as his Bankai Kokujo Tengen Myo. Imagine being able to control his massive avatar and dealing huge damage against your opponent. Another character who has a very unique Bankai who should be playable in Rebirth of Souls is Mayuri Kurotsuchi. I can imagine Mayuri's character releasing poisonous gas from his Zanpakuto, which will gradually reduce the Konpaku amount of your opponent during the battle. It would be very interesting to see how Mayuri's abilities will be incorporated into the mechanics of Rebirth of Souls. With the amazing work that they've done on Tozen's character, I believe that they can do a lot of justice to Mayuri. Now, I wouldn't have included this character in his captain captain form if Gin and Tozen were not playable as their captain versions. I'm of course talking about Sosuke Aizen. Aizen in his captain form was playable in Heat the Soul 3, 4, 5, and 7. So yeah, that's a total of 6 captains who I think will be added to the roster. Now, in terms of lieutenants, I think only Shuhei Hisagi will be included, and when it comes to seated officers, the only 2 that come to mind are Ikkaku Madarame and Yumi Chika. So this gives us a total of 10 characters from the Soul Society who have yet to be included in the roster. So at the moment, our total character roster is adding up to 28 characters, and we have 24 left. We now turn our attention towards the Arrancar Espada characters, and from this group we only have Ukiura Schiffer who is confirmed. So it makes it very easy to now fill out which characters will be included from this group. The obvious picks of course are going to be the Espada, so I think Yami, Arunyero, Xyle Aparo, Zomari, Grimjow, Noitara, Haribel, Baragon, and Stark will all be included as playable characters. I say this because a lot of the characters that these Espada had fought against are playable as their own respective characters, like Byakuya who had fought Zomari, or Renji and Uryu who had fought Xyle Aparo, and Rukia who had fought Arunyero. Now this leaves us with one final Arrancar who I'm predicting will be included in the game, and this of course is the former Espada Neliel. So from the Arrancar Espada group, I'm predicting that 10 characters will be added to the roster. If we include Ukiura to this 10 that I've just added, then that's 39 characters so far in the roster for Rebirth of Souls, which leaves us with 14 characters. Now we move over to the next faction, which of course are the Vizards. Because the Vizards were so well represented within the Heat the Soul series, I think that it's a solid indication that each of the Vizards will be playable within the game, especially if Turn Back to Pendulum arc is going to be adapted within Rebirth of Souls. This means that Shinji, Hiyori, Hachi, Kensei, Lisa, Love, Rose, and lastly Mashiro will all be playable within the game, which is a total of 8 characters. This brings us to a total of 47 playable characters so far, and we now have 5 characters left to add to the roster. Now these 5 characters I've added in the other category. This is because it can be argued that some of these characters could be replaced with someone else. Now one of the characters I don't think will be replaced by another, and this is Aizen, who will be playable in a separate form, which is his Hokyoku Absorbed form. I think this form will have 2 transformations, both of them representing various stages of his chrysalis evolution. The first will most likely be where his face is completely covered in that cocoon form, and then his reawakening I believe will be his butterfly form, where he takes on that grotesque, monstrous appearance with those wings that have eyes and teeth on them. Another character that I'm predicting will most likely be playable in Rebirth of Souls is Hollow Ichigo. Hollow Ichigo, whether if he's in his Bankai or Shikai form, has been well represented within the Heat the Soul games, being playable from the 3rd installment all the way through to the 7th. Now we have the final 3 characters that I'm the least confident will be in this game, but I've included them in my roster anyway, and these are the Preveron Espada, Gatenbine, Cirucci, and Dardoni. The Preveron Espada were permanent members of the Heat the Soul roster ever since the 5th installment of the game, appearing all the way up until the 7th game. So yeah, if there is space left over in the roster, I don't see any reason why not to include the 3 of them. Each of their respective opponents are available as playable characters. The story of the game will be covering everything from the Substitute Shinigami arc to the end of the Arrancar arc, so most likely they're gonna appear in the game in some way or another. Now, there's quite a few characters who I haven't included which I want to talk about. Firstly, I haven't included any of the Hollows because I don't think Hollows like the Grand Fisher, Fishbone D, or even Acid Wire will be available as separate playable characters. Now in the story mode you may be able to face off against them and battle a CPU controlled character. I don't think that this is going to translate over into the roster as a playable character though. This is despite the fact that Hollows like the Grand Fisher, the Shrieker, and even a Menos Grande being playable on the Nintendo DS game Dark Souls. Now there are some characters who I haven't included in the launch day roster, but I do think that they may be playable later as DLC characters. This includes individuals like Kukaku Shiba, Kaien Shiba, Tessai, as well as Wonderwise and any of the Frashion, which includes Ion and the Tres Bestia. And I'll be very surprised if characters like Oldman Zangetsu, Urahara, or Lilynet will be included as playable characters. Oldman Zangetsu wasn't playable within any of the Heat the Soul games, and Urahara, for the role that she plays from the beginning of the story all the way up until the end of the Arrancar arc, she has no real battle moments, so she wasn't included within Heat the Soul either, and Lilynet was only available as a support character within Heat the Soul 7. Now, the only thing that I have left to talk about with the roster of Rebirth of Souls is that the two characters who I think may have second playable forms are Gin and Tozen, who may have Arrancar arc variants to their characters. Again, I'm assuming that these will most likely only be available as DLC, so there is a lot that they can include to expand upon the base roster that I've predicted for this game, just from characters all the way up until the Arrancar arc. Now, there is one thing that I have left which I haven't talked about, and it's Ichigo's Dangai form, where he unleashes his final Getsuga Tensho, as well as his ability Mugetsu. Do I think that Ichigo is going to have a third variant as a playable character? This one I'm honestly not too sure about, so do let me know your thoughts about how they are going to be handling Dangai Ichigo and the final Getsuga Tensho. There have been hints that Rebirth of Souls will also include story elements from the Fallbring arc, as well as the 1000-Year Blood War arc if it proves itself to be a successful game. But already off of the bat, if my prediction is right, then Rebirth of Souls should launch in spring of 2025 with 52 total playable characters, with 9 characters from Karakura Town, 19 characters from the Soul Society, 11 Arrancar Espada characters, 8 Vizards, and then 5 other characters like Hollow Ichigo, Aizen in his Hokyoku absorbed form, and the 3 Privaron Espada. Now, I've tried my best to give a solid prediction as to the total number of characters and how each of the different factions within Bleach will be represented in this game, but I do want to know all of your own personal predictions for the total number of characters that will be playable in the game, and your own personal roster prediction list for who will appear within Rebirth of Souls. I really do look forward to reading about all of the characters that you're the most hyped to see. I have several videos on my channel where I've covered all of the different character trailers for Rebirth of Souls, as well as explaining everything that there is to know about the mechanics of this game, so definitely do go and check out those videos after this one. Lastly, thank you for making it to the end of my Bleach Rebirth of Souls character roster prediction video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach video. A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.